Our next question, Austin, go ahead and ask away, man. We got this one tuned up for him. So,
Yeah. So, how do you plan your projects? I mean, is there like do you sit down and some people sit down and have a whole itinerary of what they're going to do? Some people wing it on the fly and say, whatever happens, happens. We're getting that destination. I don't know what destination, but we're getting there.
Mhm.
Right. So, how do you go about planning your projects?
I wing it.
there it
Hey,
is.
there we go.
Yeah, yeah. I
Hey.
wing it. I kid you not. Kit bashing. There's no plans. I have a
That's
general
true.
idea what kits I want to use. I incorporate them. Some work. Some fail. Some just surprise you. The one thing I always keep in mind is not to go past my spending budget. So, on an average, when I work on a model kit, I usually keep it like under $150 to $200, which is reasonable. Kit bashes tend to exceed past that point because maybe there's a part that you like, maybe a weapon accessory that you know that will work, and then somehow it just works. But you also have to just constantly be mindful of your finances. So the only part that really takes the forefront of planning is video editing. That's that part. I literally have to write a script. I have to make sure what angles I apply to the videos. I got to make sure how everything just flow cohesive with one another. What music flows one scene to another. Something that's punchy, something that's more serene, something that tells a story. And I take those and then I incorporate them back into the model kit. So what if I'm building something like, say, the perfect? If it ever happens, Bandai, I'm looking at you. Give me a perfect grade Barbados. I'm not joking. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
Okay. So if it came to something like that, I know what kind of whites I would definitely go with. I know what kind of weathering methods I would love to apply to it, whether I use oils, maybe some water-based paints for the weathering, for the chipping effect. I definitely use lacquer-based paints because that's a higher durability. Choices of LEDs I would definitely apply to that, and also areas that would have plenty of cavity space. I would definitely need to plan out a spot where I would actually need a higher power supply, so that way you don't have to get stuck with the nasty dongle that sticks out of the model kit. That right there is the biggest challenge when it comes to planning for a model kit. Is I'm building a master grade. Are there any parts to this where I can hide the power supply? I can't. Okay. What do I need to do to make sure there's not a dongle sticking out of it? Okay, just put an entry point that's a male or female connector, and then make sure it's connected to a USB port. Okay, that hard part is done. Now, how many volts that need to go applying to the model kit? 3, 5, 12. Can't be too high, can't be too low. So now you have to take into the factor how many LEDs you want to put into your model kit. So this is going to become a big shocker to you. The most I've ever put into a model kit was close to 175. Not a Gundam. Not a Gundam model kit. This was the Star Trek USS Enterprise refit.
Yep.
Now, like I mentioned in the past, Star Trek plays a big part of my life. It is what got me into the sci-fi genre, and I wanted something that not only shows that my skills have reached the next level, but I want something that my son can look back and say, like, you built that model kit in the living room that looks just like what you saw in Star Trek the motion picture. How did you do it? And hours upon hours upon hours rewatching that movie front and back, the highest quality I can possibly watch in 4K. That was there available on Paramount Plus. I said that's not good enough. I need to buy the 4K Blu-ray version of that. I was stuck in front of that TV for hours on end, just taking notes. What kind of strobe lights I need to apply? Does the Aztec need to be bright? Does it need to be soft? Which version of the model kit am I going to correspond with? This is going to be the motion picture, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Am I going to go the Enterprise from Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country? And at that time, when the films were being made, not every Enterprise was designed the same. Some had very fluorescent Aztecs, some had soft grays. So now you have to decide which one really fits your preference. And for me, the motion picture always stood out because the fluorescent Aztec was just such a wonderful add-on to that. And it just works. And then when you apply the LEDs behind that, that comes the next challenging part. So now you have to make a whole list. What parts of the starship has strobes? What has blinking lights? What is what's going to be like a light that is like funneled in a way where it lights up, say, the secondary hull insignia of the Federation? how are you going to do that? What kind of LEDs are you going to apply? What's your power supply consumption? So that process took. This is when I started working at my factory gig, Amazon, on the first 3 months. So juggling working full time, staying consistent of making that video, plus dealing with a pregnant wife that needed my support, was a challenge upon itself. So every time I was at work, I would take my Galaxy Note 3, write down some notes where I need to improve upon it, see what kind of paints I need to get for fluorescence that wouldn't saturate or fall apart over time, and then put one foot in front of the other and then keep on going. But then light comes into a factor where you can't always stay consistent with it. So I had to deal with working a full-time gig because my wife worked at the same factory I worked at. She was laid off. So now there's more responsibilities applied on top of me. I was at the time we were literally remodeling, refixing our house. And then there's the coping aspect of going through this new sensation of pain on my feet, and then the depression I got working at the factory, because they treat you as a number. Don't let anyone misinform you. You're Amazon, you're part of the team. We're here as a family. That is a lie. You are a number.
And you always be a number.
And as soon as you grasp that and you understand what you need to do with your life, get out. Put in your 2 to 3 years. Look for other opportunities. That's what I'm going to do. And that's what happened when I'm working there right now. Is I don't want to come home to my wife as a broken man that isn't motivated to make any content anymore. Because right now we as content creators are going through this, I guess you can say, renaissance. There's a lot of content creators that are just straight up quitting. They're not motivated at all to make content. I get it. Video editing, it's not for everyone, but for me, I love it. It's fun. It's an extension of you. It is part of your essence. It's your identity. You like doing wacky, cool zoom in and zoom out effects. You like to do pan shots left and right. You like to do vlogging. That's your identity. That's what you have, that you connect with your audience. And that's one thing I always try to apply with my videos. Like, this is an extension of myself, but I want to let you guys know that this is the one phrase I love in Ratatouille. Anyone can cook. Anyone can build. Anyone can paint. Anyone can put LEDs in the model kit. You just need to have that one step and put in front of the other to make the commitment. And when you do that, the doors open up for you. I can't tell you how many times I've been getting requests to do commissions, and I turned them all down because I still right now don't feel like I'm at the best from it right now. I want to get better.
There you go.
I really do want to keep on doing these really cool elaborating projects, and that's why I'm doing this Kit Bash project with another content creator, because no one's doing it. It is such a missed opportunity that you can take two people that have the exact same skill levels, and you can show it to everyone on your own platform. Everyone gets cake. Everyone can eat.
That's our memo. That's our motto. Everybody eats.
Everyone eats.
There it is.
God, that got really preachy. I'm sorry.
No, it's good, man.
That's good.
Love it.
That's the dad part kicking into me now.
If I could say two things real quick. My father is also a Trekkie. So I grew up on a healthy dose of Star Trek my entire life, and I can say that I can say that that
Star Trek Voyager. It was on UPN. It was the only thing I can remember from growing up. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. Star Trek Voyager.
I bet you only saw one episode of Deep Space Nine and turned it off.
I remember the promos for Deep Space Nine.
I'll be real with you. I didn't like DS9 for the longest time.
Yeah,
and I loved it after season 3. Yep. I'm like, this show is a gem.
It's very different. It tries to be very different, and you're like, what? No, you look at Enterprise leave. You're like, no, come back. Everyone here is mean. Nobody here likes each other. But no, my dad's a Trekkie. So, and I'll say that the original those original Enterprise model kits made for the show, those model makers back then, in my opinion, are the true apex.
Absolutely, ILM.
Yeah, just amazing quality. And I always say, I always tell people too, when I see an Enterprise at a show or something like that, I'm like, that took time. Somebody's trying their best, and that is a true showcase of if you find one that's perfect, it's a true showcase of a masterpiece, because it really is. The Enterprise is no joke. You think 5-star stories is tough. The Enterprise is no joke, guys. Yeah, yeah. And dude, their numbers, working place, got a jet. I mean, literally,
Absolutely.
they gave me an employee number. One day they just said 55985. I was like, oh,
Mhm,
I'm an
mhm, mhm.
iPad.
Yes.
I'm out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I feel you there, man.
Absolutely. CD, what you got